Hey there, thanks for clicking on another video of mine. I hope your week is off to a great start, and we have a beautiful sharpening project here. We have a knife sent in by a client. Ooh, it's warm here today. I was just out and putting in a little work on the truck. If you're wondering who this fella here is, some of you newcomers, this is my dad. He helps me out here in the shop, and he's finishing up a nice batch of Bake Apple Grand Class. And I know I've gotten a lot of emails, those who missed out on those on the Father's Day launch, but I'm going to go ahead. If you go to the website right now, they'll be available and they'll be shipped before the end of this week. So I know some of you have been waiting. Now's your chance to snag one. And I think you're going to like this one. So we have, you're probably not going to like the damage here. This is a beautiful Damascus steel SHUN. This is a Premiere 8-inch chef's knife, and look what we have here. Look at this problem. And as soon as I got the email and as soon as I saw the picture, the guy said he was doing something he shouldn't have, and I said, let me guess, an avocado pit. And he came back and he said that's exactly what's happened, and that happens often. Of course, you got having an avocado with that spherical pit, that large hard pit. You cut it around the pit and you separate, and then the pit is stuck in one half. So what a lot of people do is they snuck the edge of the knife in the pit, and they kind of twist and they pop that pit out. Well, with these very, very brittle SHUN knives, these hard forged Japanese knives, that bit of action there, that little bit of stress, clicking that pit, often chips them out. And I've seen, if you're not following Peter Nolan on Instagram, you should be, but he sharpens knives like this for a living, and I've seen some just outrageously damaged knives like this come in. But we're going to take it to the Whetstones right now. We're going to repair this knife. The owner of it has had this knife sitting back for a long time, not knowing what to do with it, not able to repair it himself. So we're going to put this back in use for him. Okay, let's get this beautiful knife on the stone here. This is a thirsty stone, at least until it gets real saturated. So this is a 240 grit ceramic stone. Very aggressive stone. We're going to start out, and we're just going to start carving back this edge, because we got a lot of steel to remove before we get up and remove that chip. And with this type of knife, you definitely want to do that. So I'm just going to start assessing here how quickly we're removing steel. How brittle the steel is, if you're doing more damage as you're working the stone. I'm going to use lots of pressure, kind of push my limits a little bit until I see, like I said, if I'm actually causing more damage. And the steel seams can definitely take it. We're carving that back really quickly there. Our angle is not super important at this point, because like I said, we're just trying to hog back as much of that steel as possible. Seeing sides here now. Trying to switch up angles here like I had someone ask for in a recent video, but this is with probably, I don't know, 3-4 minutes on the stone. You can see I've almost removed, we have a little bit of plying there, so I'll just work it a little bit longer till we've pretty much removed all of it, and the last little bit I'll just start switching up, and it'll work out with the next grade stone. At this point, if you haven't been already, you can be more cognizant of the angle you're using. And you want to make sure when you're removing a chip like this as well, that you're shaping the blade appropriately. So if it's right here, I mean, you don't just want to carve this flat spot here. You want to make sure you maintain that nice sweeping profile that this knife came with. So that's what we're doing. Now, I'm not taking down much in the heel, keeping that depth. I'm taking most of my material from up in the nose here. So I'm just drawing this whole edge back a little bit. Like I said, maintaining that nice sweeping profile. Have a nice heavy burr on most of the blade there now. And this is definitely not a stone I would recommend for beginners. 240 grit ceramic. This will do a lot of damage very quickly if you're not careful. And if you do want to get a stone like this in your early in your sharpening career, because they are fun to use, make sure you only use your cheapest junky knives, or buy some dollar store knives or something and play on it. Don't start out with your nice chef's knife like this, or your Benchmade folder or something. Start out with something a little cheaper. And 99% removed, just a little bit more. Kind of making sure I'm getting those full passes there now, so I don't have any facets along the length of our edge. Now we're going to get rid of the 240. We're going to move to a 340 Shapton Kuramaku. This is another ceramic, but this, and you'll hear the sound as well, is a big change in texture. I need to clean it up with the dressing stone there. A big change in texture from the 240 we just used. This is a Nanawa Nagura. This is a 600 grit dressing stone. One that I really like. Okay, just listen to the difference in texture here now when we start on this Kuramaku here. Much nicer, and with a knife like this now, I'll do nice full passes, holding that angle, so I'm applying pressure near the tip, pressure with my thumb down here, and with the finer grit stones, I'll gradually use less and less pressure. So at this point now, I'm trying to get a nice clean edge, nice clean scratch pattern on the bevel, and end up with not too much of a burr. Now, as usual, I'll finish with just single cutting strokes like this, and I find that that helps minimize the burr I'm left with at the end. Just a few more passes. We'll move on to a Shapton glass stone. There we go. Okay, now we're going on to the 1000 Shapton. Look at that nice clean edge there now. If you have a real bad nick like that, you probably want to have a close look now. Make sure you have no cracks running up through your blade. That can sometimes happen, so you want to check that out. Now, if you do have that, if they're just a little bit protruding up into the new edge, you can work them out. But of course, if they're up very far, there's nothing you can do. Use it until it gives way on you. Look at that. Look at that steel particle on the stone. Wow. The Shapton Glass Stone 1000 is just such an incredible user experience. Highly recommended, even for the beginner. It sharpens pretty quickly, not too quickly. It's not a stone that you'll cause a lot of damage fast with. And like I said, just a beautiful user experience. But don't get that unless you're getting a dressing stone, because they do like gum up pretty quick. They fill with, see, you hear that little scratchy clicking? I got a little something on the stone surface there now. Probably a little bit of burr that came off or something like that. Maybe a bit of grit contamination from another stone. So make sure you stop and clean everything up. If you get that happening, or you're not going to get the results you want, because you're mashing that into your edge each time. There we go, full length passes, a little less pressure than we were using on the blue stone. And the very last step with this 1000 now, I just dressed it with a dressing stone, washed it down, washed my knife edge here and my blade face, just so I have no grit contamination, nothing on my stone that I don't want. I'm just going to use nice, light strokes, full length strokes, and only cutting strokes. And this will help reduce your burr at this point in the game, because we do have a nice little burr. that's it for that stone. Now we're going to use a 4,000 grit Sharpening glass stone, which is another very nice stone. Same thing again now, we're making sure to maintain our angle. We'll spend a bit of time on one side, a bit on the other, move back and forth. Not too big a deal either way. I was just thinking about when I first started whetstone sharpening. I was in university and I didn't have much of a desk or table set up in my room, so I used to practice my sharpening in my girlfriend's room at the time, my wife now. And I had the little Smith, wasn't the tri-home setup. It was the Arkansas stone setup. There was like a carborundum stone on one side, and then you flicked the little toggle on the bottom of the base and took out this little tiny Arkansas stone, maybe 1 inch by 3 inch, little white marbly colored stone. And I practiced with that little set for hours and hours and hours at this little desk. All evening long I would practice until, and I had the sheets of paper there, and I would just keep testing, because I was watching these videos online of guys doing these cutting paper tests, and I'd never seen that in person, and it just seemed like such an incredible thing, you know, to wisp through a piece of paper. And I would just keep checking and sharpen a little more and keep checking. And then I remember one time I got a little portion of the heel or toe of the blade that would actually cut paper, and it just spurred me on. And just went from there. I eventually bought a little combination synthetic stone, one of these here, and just kept investing, kept learning, kept practicing. Now we have a viciously sharp edge right off of that Sharpening 4000 and a nice little polish, nice reflection. I'm going to move, this is a Nanowatt Professional 5000 grit here. This is a very hard stone. I don't know if you noticed that glassy surface on it as well before I wetted it down. It's just a beautiful stone. If Dad will stop there for 1 second, listen to the texture of this one. Almost no texture, no feelable texture with this one. Just a beautiful, beautiful stone. But I'll work this one for a little bit. Not a lot of time here. The bulk of our work is done. You can go back on now, Dan. But the bulk of our work is done here now. We're just refining that edge a little bit more and giving the customer just a nice little polish on this beautiful knife. Nice light pressure here too. I'm not really working this stone. This isn't a stone you do that with. Yeah, nice polish. Really crisp, almost scary feeling edge. Have a look at that polish on the edge. You can definitely see it there. Now we're going to finish with this stone. Let's clean it up, wet it down again. I'm just going to use those light single stroke cutting passes again. Very light now, being mindful of our angle. Just like that. 3, 4, 5. You can go 1 for 1. I usually go 1 for 1. Look how beautiful that knife looks. I'm looking at it here in the camera monitor. Wow, what a stunning knife. I know you guys are going to like this video. Just some 1 for 1 cutting strokes. We can be done and hang our hat on this job if we wanted to stop right there. Now today we're going to finish on the professional, Nanowatt Professional 10,000 grit stone. Just because we have a real special knife here. We have a client that's missed using his knife for a long time, so he hasn't been able to get it back in motion. So let's just go that little extra mile. Just put a little bit more of a polish on there. Okay, now just listen to this one. similar to the 5000, when you get to a certain point, there's just not a lot of texture to be felt. But these are very hard, brittle stones. Kind of temperamental. You got to be careful how you take care of them. Definitely not beginner stones. We're just holding our angle very secure. No movement in our wrists, fingers. All that is locked in. Do you notice that? Not moving. Moving at pretty much my elbow and my shoulder joints. So the angle is not really changing on my knife. And we're getting just wicked polish at this point. Couple single strokes there, and we are calling it quits. Now my routine for years has been to finish on a strop, and the strop we're going to use today is, notice the finish on that leather. That is a high grade finish side. This is actually a guitar strap, or a guitar strap, you know, for an actual guitar, that I cut down because it's got that polished finished leather. You keep a little bit of oils from your skin in there, and it just has a beautiful texture for finishing something like this, where you don't really want compound worked into the edge. You don't need it. We've worked to such a high grit, but I do like what a strap like this does to the edge. And I shave all the time with straight razors, sharpen and maintain my own straight razors, and of course this is the type of strap you want for finishing those straight razors. And that's the type of edge we're going with here as well. Very high grade, polished and refined edge. Not necessarily needed, but what we're going for today. And we are done with this repair. And there is our repaired edge, guys. Look at that. You would never know that this knife was damaged. Got a 10,000 grit polished and strapped edge, and this thing is ready to perform. Hit that like button if you learned something or if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more like this. I have a table full of knives here to sharpen, and if you'd like to see some, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.